for that time. Coming back and seeing Milo, we're just like, holy shit, you're a huge cat.
Yes. Well, they are still pod kittens after all. Let's see where. I just summoned a parrot to the stand in Ace Attorney versus Layton.
That makes
Sounds
fucking
about
sense.
It's a throwback to the first Phoenix, right, where you do exactly that.
Yep.
Alrighty.
2 seconds, I'll be right back.
Alright, and we'll get this podcast started. Hopefully no one's tuned in yet to the stream.
It's okay. We'll just talk about something.
Yeah.
I hooked my old PS3 up to my computer monitor.
Yeah? How's it look? PS3's
Fine.
video output was always really solid.
Yeah, it looks nice. I had to do some audio trickery to get it to work, but it's pretty cool. And going back and playing Rayman Legends or Origins or whatever the first one that came out for PS3 was.
Yeah.
Origins. Because, you had to reboot the rich lore of the Rayman series. Just tell that origin story one more time.
Alright, let's kick the tires on this pig.
Oink.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means either.
Hey, Locke, did you have to shovel any snow today?
It's real funny, Nick.
That means yes.
I have a lot of snow. Like, I went to a meeting, and within 2 hours, my car had like 6 inches of snow on top of it.
Jeez.
I'd be pissed. I'd be moving. Be like, F you, Canada.
Well, like, it's September.
Mother
Like,
Nature.
the leaves are still on the trees. Like, what happened to fall?
Oh, yeah, that's...
Having at one point in my life lived basically in Canada, I can tell you that that's just something you deal with.
So then Locke went and kicked over a mountain and it was all good.
Wish.
He had to up the manlyhood factor after Mike kicking over the tree.
Yeah, I got to use an axe too, but Locke's axe story was better. So I let him have that
Locke,
one.
why don't you take us into the podcast land?
All right, are we live? We're live. Okay, let's start this off. In 3, 2, 1, mash your buttons. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Co-Opticast, episode 130. My name is Locke Vincent. I will be your host this evening, or whenever you're listening to this. That's the beauty of fake radio. So,
welcome to Podcast Land.
Yeah, welcome to Podcast Land, where you can listen to this anytime. But we are recording on Monday, September 8th, 2014. I'm joined by 3 of my fellow Co-Optonauts. First being, on my left, Mike Katsiprakis.
Yo.
He's donning, you can't see this on the radio show, but he's donning his sick Hawkins shirt, which I also wear that shirt quite often.
It's a comfy shirt.
Soft, very soft. And to his left, holding his hand, his Lord of the Rings card buddy, Jason Love.
Hello.
And finally, last but not least, at the head of the table, over there is Nick Paleo.
Howdy.
Nick, survivor of Dead Rising crashes for the last hour, just crash and burn. But we have just a cacophony of games to talk about here and some cool news stories, and then we're gonna cap the show off with a voicemail, maybe find some time to get hype about Destiny in between there. But first, let's go to Nick so we can get the boring stuff about Madden out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I don't know, I've been in a bit of a gaming funk. I will say it does some cool things, Madden, this year, mostly with using its online functionality. So, like, the playbooks are all community run, I guess is the best way to say it. So like when you pick a play, it tells you the chance of success based on other people that have picked that play in that situation, and like what it'll pick plays for you based on like your yardage you've earned and stuff like that. And so it's a lot more in depth for stat stuff. Graphically, it looks pretty good, but it's a Madden game. I don't know. Not much to say about it.
I've heard that there is a big focus on defense and getting people excited to play defense.
Yeah, it basically turns into a QuickTime event kind of a thing.
Oh, wonderful.
Basically, what it is it
Jump the snap count or something.
It tells you when to press the button to do the moves. Basically, is all it is. So there's that, and there is kind of a little bit of a better indicator for tackling and stuff. There's kind of like a little radar around your guys, so you know what kind of tackle you're going to do and things like that. I mean, it's really refined, for sure. It's one of the better Maddens I've played in a while. Like I said, I think the play calling stuff is phenomenal, especially utilizing basically crowdsourced playbooks. It's the best way to describe it. So it's cool. But yeah, there's some really weird, crazy glitches in it. I've had ones where players have been launched like 20, 30 feet in the air. There's I don't even see it on Twitter. There's the Tiny Titan guy.
I like the Tiny Titan.
Yeah, he's really tiny. They actually promoted it into the game. So the latest little update had a special loading screen. It was like, this weekend only, see the last of the Tiny Titan kind of a thing. And
awesome.
So yeah, so I've been playing that, and I've been kind of just watching random stuff on Twitch.
What kind of stuff?
Actually, the wife and I got into watching Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay, give me a lowdown on this, because it is slotted in for Halloween horror, but I don't know what it is.
So,
man.
Basically, you are a security guard at a Chuck E. Cheese's, and all the animatronic characters come to life at night and try and kill you.
All right, that's perfect.
Nope.
Done. Nope. Big tall glass of nope.
So the streams for it are just hilarious because it's people just freaking out, and it's really basic gameplay. Like literally, all you have is a set amount of power, and you have security cameras to cycle through, and doors to open and close to try and keep them away. And you have to track these 3 characters.
That's cool.
So yeah, the one night we were just kind of looking for something to watch, and we ended up watching it for like an hour, going through some streams. So check that out. There's also this really weird, I guess you can call it kind of co-op scuba diving game, where you take pictures and stuff.
Weird.
It's bizarre, but it's gorgeous, and apparently it was started as like an Oculus kind of a tech demo thing, and now it's kind of spawned out into this full. It's like Minecraft meets scuba diving meets
Pokemon Snap.
Yes, Pokemon Snap.
I'm ready for Oculus Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, so I was watching some of that, and then there's a site that launched recently called Twitch Raids, where it basically just cycles through random Twitch channels every 5 minutes, and it's kind of cool to see these people, because it specifically targets people with low viewer counts. So they'll have normally 2 or 3 people watching, and then suddenly they have 100,
5,000,
and they flip out, and it's cool to see them so excited. Some people don't know how to handle it because they clearly stream to their friends, but other people are they're really really funny about it. So that's
cool.
Pretty much the extent of my stuff lately. Waiting for tomorrow for Destiny.
Of course. For Madden, did they add the Spartan dropkick move?
Hopefully they patch that in.
And are they taking the left hook to your wife's face out?
Oh man, that's too soon.
Oh, it's football. I don't care.
That's the world's view on football from outside the U.S. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move over. Mike, what do you got for me?
Let's see. I'd say the big one for me and Jason as well, because he actually spent a week in my house.
It was like Five Nights at Freddy.
Yes.
It was Five Nights at Mike's.
Yeah. We got pretty into Lord of the Rings, the card game, which is a cooperative card game from Fantasy Flight, and it's one of their living card games. So you have a set pool of cards that are expandable, and you build a deck, and you build you and your partner come up with a fellowship and a deck for each of you, and you go and you try and complete quests, and it is really, really fucking good. I mean, Tally got way into it. I think she still plays it a lot.
Yeah.
With her group of friends, and I bought it based on her recommendations a long time ago, and it just kind of sat there. And since Jason was over, we decided to bust it out and learn it. And there's a bit of a hurdle. It's got some complex rules, and true to any system with a lot of deep and complex rules, it doesn't explain all of them very well. But I think we got all the rules shaken out, and we played it and really enjoyed it. And I got my wife into it. We I built some custom decks, and we went up against the scenarios and found them a lot easier to take on than if you just use the starter decks that come with it. So
You don't say.
having a really good time with it, and I dig that.
How much is the base pack?
$30 or $40, depending on where you get it.
And
Yeah, I
then
think it's like 32 on Amazon.
and then expansions are how much?
Between 10 and 20.
It's not bad. Not
Yeah, it
bad.
depends. They have like adventure packs that are between 10 to $15, and those are one scenario, like one set of quests.
Yeah.
A bunch of
Like new heroes, new cards, and
and
stuff.
then they have deluxe expansions that give you more heroes, more quests. And the way that they usually set it up is like the deluxe expansions start off a cycle of adventure packs. So with the core set, they have 6 adventure packs or something like that came out that use some of the encounter deck cards that come in the core set, like when you're building the quest deck that you're going up against, and then
Right.
also some of the new stuff. So then they have the deluxe expansions that are like $20 to $25 that have usually like 3 new heroes in them, and then a whole new set of cards to use with the next set of adventure packs.
And
And they've
can
got-
you mix and match everything?
Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah, like all the
Except-
hero cards you can do. You could even make up your own custom scenarios, really, if you wanted to, which would probably royally screw you, but
Yeah.
do it.
But yeah, it's generally you know, like if you went to like a gaming day or played in a tournament or something, you'd build your deck to complement your partner and the scenario you're taking on. And there's actually a scoring system at the end, which I guess is how you would compete. You would cooperatively play with a partner, but you'd be competing against other people to see who did the best against it.
There's
But
also a way to kind of measure your decks and see if they're good, because if you have like a high score, then that means probably you didn't do so well versus a low score, I think, or something.
But it's super fun.
Is it always 2-player?
You
make
can
it
play
4.
4 up to 4. Okay. And then what? Sort of top level. What's the fail state in the game? like
There's
this?
there's a couple ways you can fail. Your heroes have hit points, and
Okay.
you have allies that essentially act as the buffer between enemies attacking you and your heroes. If your heroes all die, you lose.
Gotcha.
But the mechanic that I think is really cool and actually lends a lot to the tenseness of the game, because it is quite difficult, especially when you're still learning it. There's a threat mechanic, and there is a counter that you have, and a threat cost to play your heroes at the beginning of the game. And should your threat ever reach 50, you lose. Whenever the player hits it. So if I hit 50 and Jason's at 45, I lose, but he still plays. So
Right.
it's possible to keep moving on without that. But so every turn it ticks up 1, and especially if you only have the base set, it's really not too possible unless you want to really cripple yourself. Most of the decks you can make are going to start you off around 30 threat. So you have already a finite number of turns to complete it. And if you get bogged down or you find yourself at a disadvantage, it can go up more than 1 a turn. One time I had a run of bad luck, and I saw the threat dial get clicked up 8 times
Oh, geez.
on a single turn. That's kind of rare unless you're playing a really hard scenario, but it's good. And anybody who likes co-op stuff and plays board games should check it out. You can certainly play with only the core set and have a really good time. So.
And you can definitely, I mean, the instructions and other stuff say that you can play with 2 players just using the core set, and you have to buy a second core set to make it 4. You don't. I've tested this now, and you can play at least the first 2 scenarios. I haven't tried the third one that comes in the core set, but at least the first 2 with 4 people using like just the standard pre-made decks that they have in there without any problems. And in fact, in some ways, it's a lot easier with 4 people than it is with 2.
Well, because you have equal access to every sphere.
Yeah,
of
and
influence.
I mean, like,
If you're
the decks complement each other in a lot of different ways. So like, there's the 4 different spheres of influence. Like you have like an attack one, a one that's mainly built for going on quests, and that's a whole separate mechanic. But because of that, you can have one quest that completely is, helping you out with one side of things, while another side is like attacking enemies, and the decks kind of work off each other. I mean, and it goes by a lot faster. You're able to clear quests and everything with 4 people, so it's definitely one of those things. Don't listen to what the box says. If you have 4 friends that you want to play it with, you can pick it up, just the core set, and play with them.
But I would also say, like, playing with 4 seems like it's good if you get a big group, but to me, it seems like unless you're playing a really hard scenario, like 4 players makes the game a little too easy, because you don't have to restrict what cards you have access to,
Right.
in any way, because you can put a good mix into everybody's decks.
Yeah, I mean, there's variable levels of difficulty too. The scenarios themselves are actually ranked for difficulty, so it's like if you feel like I have 4 people and this is going to be easier to go up against one of the harder difficulty ones, and then or scale back the number of players on an easier one, and that makes it more difficult.
I'm impressed that Lord of the Rings is doing so well as a licensed product, because we got Shadow of Mordor coming out later this year. And you know what? The Lord of the Rings games, the video games, aren't too bad. I always go back and remind myself that Guardians of Middle-earth is a very good intro MOBA. So,
that's good. My go-to Lord of the Rings game for a long time was actually Return of the King on the PlayStation 2. Nice brawler.
What else are you playing, Mike?
So I have also been playing a little bit of Azure Striker Gunvolt, which is a Mega Man X-ish action game by Inacreates, the guys who did Mega Man 9 and 10, and the Mega Man ZX Advent series and all that. It plays quite differently. Like, you actually have to like tag enemies with a special shot, and then you electrocute them to death. You don't just like peg them down with rains of energy shots. It's pretty neat. There's a crafting mechanic, because everything needs crafting now. And I've also been playing Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney, which is 2 great tastes that taste great together. And if you've never played either, Professor Layton is a game about solving puzzles, like brain teaser type puzzles, and adorably European art. And Ace Attorney is a game about being a defense attorney in Japanifornia, I guess would be the best way to put it.
That's about right. It really is.
But it's that in that you're solving courtroom drama, and it's incredible. I love those games. They're basically visual novels, but they're fun, adventure gamey type games. So they matched both of these up, and the end result's pretty good. I like it a lot, and it's surprisingly dark. Like, basically the plot revolves around a place that believes in witches, and so when you're playing as Phoenix Wright, you're defending people from being executed summarily as a witch. So, like,
of course,
they're like, you're a witch, I'm going to toss you in this pit of fire, and then you defend somebody, and then a witch shows up in the case, and then you're like, I'm a witch, but I did it because I'm trying to be a good person, and then the judge is like, no, and they just drop her in a fire pit. Just right there, So it's a little bit darker than either of those series usually gets, but I enjoy it. And I have also been playing the Old Iron King DLC in Dark Souls 2. I'm what I assume is maybe a little more than halfway through it. It is awesome.
You can never beat it. You can never beat it.
Yes.
It consumes you. Yeah, Dark Souls 2 is a game that still exists.
Much to much chagrin.
We don't want to waste another podcast talking about Dark Souls 2.
No, I don't. Jason, why don't you tell me about
the same stuff I've been playing as Mike?
Yeah, you guys had a play date, so you're obviously playing the same thing.
Mike already talked about Professor Layton. The only thing I'll add to the Azure Striker Gunvolt is it's Mega Man X with farming and crafting. So
I said there was crafting.
If that sounds fun to you, which I didn't think it would, and then
what system is this on? Sorry, this on
3DS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like depending on how well you do in a level, you get to turn over these tiles that give you materials that you can then use to create better equipment for yourself.
Nice.
So, and then there's also like challenges that you can do in each level to give you some reward of it too. So it's kind of, you can't just go through a level and farm it up from enemies. You have to actually put in and figure out the best way to clear a level in the most efficient amount of time and still kill enemies because they give you the points that you then have to use in between those two. It gives you a ranking. So it's, yeah. I've sucked a little bit of time into it. I'm kind of like, I keep going back and forth because it works well for that type of game, but it's also a game that you really don't want to have to go and do that kind of BS with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that game. And then other than that, Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition on the console. Been playing some more of that still. Still really enjoying it. My wizard hit level 70 just today, I think, or yesterday or something.
That's nice.
So racking up the Paragon and hunting for legendaries.
Yeah,
and sending legendaries to friends. I think you got a couple of gifts waiting for you, Nick.
That's going to be a big decision. I get my PS4 tomorrow, and I'm wondering if I want to double dip on Diablo. Anyways, my Crusader on PC made it to 70, and I was very impressed. The Crusader is a really fun class to play and super versatile. And one thing I wanted to check was I don't know if any of you guys know this. Were greater rifts in the game before the console version?
Greater Rifts launched on the PC a week and a half ago.
Okay, so they're new. Okay, so I did a
greater. They are not in the console version and will not be for a while yet.
Yeah.
I don't think. I know that Blizzard said that they were going to add all of the patch content to both next-gen versions.
Yeah.
And I haven't. So that patch has been in the wild for about 2 weeks now, and I haven't seen any traction on whether it's making its way to console yet. So hopefully soon, because I played a little bit of Diablo 3 on the PC so I could start a season character because I want to do that, and Greater Rifts are amazing.
Yeah, it gives you a test and it measures your level.
It basically does a test your might and then says, all right, you're going to roll into this and start at this level of it.
It's crazy because it's a running timer, and
no loot drops in a Greater Rift until you kill the Rift boss.
It's crazy, and you might not kill him because you might run out of time because you're not I got put into level I think 16 or 17 and managed to kill the boss in a pretty average amount of time, and then it gave us just legendary gems and just some insane stuff, and then this lady was like, do you want to go to the next level of the Greater Rift, upgrade to level 18, or do you want me to upgrade a gem? And I was like, please take my gem, because that was very difficult.
Why don't we after the podcast, why don't we stream a Greater Rift?
We could do that.
Yeah, I'll hop in on that.
other than that, anything else? You got card game, Jason. You got Mega Man, Gunvolt, and Diablo. You're good.
Yeah. What was it that you said about it? It sounds total kaiju or something like that.
Kawaii.
Yeah, it
Kawaii.
totally is. The main
Sounds-
character is a blonde, blue-eyed white dude. So.
But he has braided ponytail.
Of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
Dual braided ponytails, actually.
I've been.
Nick is looking down on us for playing 3DS games. It's like, what the fuck's wrong with you, children?
I'm so excited. I finally beat Project X Zone, so I get to move on to Bravely Default.
You mean Project Exozono?
Project X Zone. That game is actually not very good.
No, it's not. I played probably about 4 hours of it and said, nope.
You know how long the game is? Add another 0 onto that number. So,
Oh, man.
yeah. I've been playing some zombie games. The first being Pinball FX2, the Walking Dead table. Very good table. Very
that
fun.
looks sweet.
It's all the missions are actually missions in a pinball game, but they're modeled after an episode of Walking Dead, which is cool. The video game, the Telltale game, and it's all fully voice acted by those actors, and it's just elegantly done. Those tables, Zen Pinball, they get better and better every time. They had a big sale on, so I ended up picking up. I own every single table now for Pinball FX2, and it's a great game. It's the best pinball out there because they do zany stuff and they don't have to adhere to real physics, which is nice. And they don't have to adhere to like classic tables, like they do whatever they want, which is neat. So the ball can go up and go anti-gravity and do crazy stuff. The other game that we attempted to stream before this, more of a test of will or patience, if anything, was Dead Rising 3 Apocalypse Edition. Nick and I both picked this up, and it is a very, very good-looking version of the game. However, it doesn't run so smoothly yet. The port isn't quite there in terms of stability. A lot of people with NVIDIA cards, integrated laptop graphics. Nick, I think you're on an NVIDIA card.
Yeah.
Are having crash issues, and it's a pretty widespread problem. So I'm assuming sort of week 1 patch will hit hopefully by this weekend, so people can get some game in. But I've been actually really lucky. The game runs perfectly for me, so I'm actually able. I've played quite a bit. I'm on like chapter I think 3 or 4 on day 4. Again, Dead Rising. Having the timer of, on the 7th day, Jesus comes in and nukes everything. I think that's what happens.
I'd probably like the Dead Rising games if that were true.
Yeah. And again, I didn't play the Xbox version. Nick, you said you played quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to this fresh, and it's an amazingly well done Dead Rising game. Really fun, really smooth. The one thing I've had trouble in the past with was the timing of everything. You can't do everything, and I love and hate that concept in Dead Rising, but in this one I'm actually finding I can just barely do everything, which is cool in terms of side missions, and they have a good amount of... There'll be a random event that'll happen, usually like go save this random survivor, and you'll get a big bonus to your PP, and then laugh it up.
I'm sorry, I just...
You dorks. Of course, the big hook in this one being the combination on the fly and with the vehicles. So you get the big Roadhog with a steamroller, and you get to drive that around, and that's pretty fun. But yeah, I'm loving the game. I can't get enough of it right now, and just combining the weapons is really fun. The pacing's really well done, and the game's beautiful, and it's just a super slick game. So I'm looking forward to playing more of that. I'll have a sort of a let's play up pretty shortly on the site here, and then sort of random streams here and there, just because that's my go-to game now, since I actually rolled credits on my punching only, no shirts, no shoes, no service Dark Souls 2 game. So that was something else.
You're not going to take it through the 3rd DLC?
Yeah, I guess I will, but I mean, we kind of put a bow on that. I got some some odds and ends to wrap up, but I feel that I don't really need to punch anything else, to be honest. I'm kind of sick of punching stuff.
You want to cast spells now?
Well, not even that. It's just you get a big, huge, giant sword or some cool spell, and you're just like, throw it in your backpack. I guess you're not using that. Just getting the bout of fisticuffs going. So, but yeah, no. Dead Rising 3 I give it a thumbs up. Nick gives it a thumb sideways. Once they fix it, it'll be okay. It's a fun ass game. So, let's move on into some stuff around the site, some news stories and headlines and the things we wrote down that were interesting. First being some Dfinity characters. Nick, why don't you tell me about these?
Dfinity, I like that. So yeah, when we saw Disney Infinity 2.0 at E3, one of the questions I asked the guy was, what's up with the characters being locked to their playsets? That's kind of silly. And he said, oh, we're going to have these crossover characters, blah, blah, blah.
Name all the characters.
No. And
who is Justin Ross?
But he didn't really unveil or give any details about it. But now we have at least one character we know that's going to be available in multiple play sets, and that's Iron Man.
Oh.
Yeah, Iron Man will be in the Avengers, and then Spider-Man, and then Guardians of the Galaxy playset, which is pretty cool. I didn't even realize that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be in Infinity 2.0, so that's pretty neat.
I am Groot.
Yeah, give a little
Come and
Groot
get
action.
your love.
Are they gonna make the little figure dance?
That would be awesome.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
If those things moved.
But yeah, and then the other character they unveiled was Black Widow, but she's right now locked to the Avengers playset. But that is coming out pretty soon. I think it's in like 2 weeks, maybe.
Boy.
And when does
yeah,
Skylanders
23rd. So yeah, 2 weeks.
Trap Team, is that this fall as well?
Yeah, I think that's the end of October or the beginning of October.
Okay.
There's so much Skylander stuff out there. I didn't realize this, but there's there's toys that aren't toys for the game.
They're just regular toys.
Yeah, I had taken the kid to basically like the dollar store around here the other day, and like they had like bins of these like little packs of. It wasn't the minis; it was something else. Because the minis are another thing that's coming with the new game. So
some kid's gonna get it and try and put it on his portal, and he's gonna be real disappointed.
Yeah, one of the neighbor kids, he's like 3, is like completely obsessed with Skylanders. I mean, he's got shirts, he carries them around everywhere he goes. He plays the game he's hooked, and the parents just look shell-shocked because of the money they spent on all the figures. It's bad.
My daughter just hooked herself on Pokemon, so
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be worse. They could be playing Call of Duty, so. Yeah, Borderlands. The prequel, Mike. What's happening? What business?
Borderlands -1.
Yes.
Stop me if you've heard this before, but there's going to be a $30 season pass that comes with 4 DLC packs that would normally cost you $10 a piece.
You don't say.
I do say.
Will there
And that's really it. I mean, they haven't told us what any of the DLC packs are going to be. Haven't talked about really any. I guess they've talked a little bit about new characters and all, but it's Borderlands. You're going to shoot stuff.
Have they guaranteed Joy Puke?
I don't think so.
What? Then what's the point of getting this?
I don't know. I think they would ask you to just buy it anyway and wait for Battleborn or whatever their new game is called.
I don't remember.
MOBA with top hat wearing robots.
Of course.
Hobby grade multiplayer.
Yeah, lots of. Let's switch gears here. Jason, you got a chance to write some words from the heart instead.
We all got a chance to write some words from the heart.
Yes, but yours was.
But you're the only one who chose to do it.
Yeah, mine came straight from my butt. So, so you talked about how to make co-op better. Can you go into sort of a little bit? Give us the Cole's notes and sort of what went into your line of thinking with this editorial.
The
So
what notes?
the butt notes.
Cole's note. No, Cole's notes.
Oh,
What's a
Yeah,
Cole's
I don't have-
note? Is that a
it's
Canadian
like-
thing?
Maybe it's like if you didn't read a book in high school.
You mean Cliff's
knew-
notes?
We have.
Yeah, we have ours are Cliff's notes. Interesting.
look at the cultural differences. This is a
Yeah,
multicultural
And I learned something
podcast.
today.
Who
But you
has,
know what? Burger King is buying Tim Hortons, so screw you, Canada.
That's right. That is a
Now-
big FU to Canada.
You guys gonna get just donuts dumped over the border. Just donuts.
Everyone will finally get Timbits, right?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, man.
Timbits. No joke.
Tim Hortons
Timbits
is so much better than. Anyways,
everything.
yes.
Like Dunkin' Donuts be damned. So yeah, how to make co-op better? How do we make co-op better? Give me some info.
So this is just kind of from my standpoint, and this was something I asked all of you on the staff as well, just to get some of your input and see. But this kind of came about more from thinking about the fact that as a site we've been around for almost 7 years, and we've all gone through a whole lot of co-op games. We've seen a ton of co-op games come out. I remember at one point in time when I was looking through it, I was just like, well, what's the kind of, how do things rank, right? So is it like, as stuff progressed, did the co-op scores get better or not? And so I did a little bit of research, and by and large, it was interesting to see that I think overall the co-op scores tended to stay pretty much flat, like pretty much average around 3 or maybe a little bit of a dip versus when they first started.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a lot of different things. We've had different staff come in. I mean, there's different factors in that, but
Varying
overall-
levels of money hats being levied our way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I slept with at least 6 publishers.
And I still gave them a 1.
I know, right? That was just that night. Anyways, so
Sorry, I had to be topical.
so looking at it, it was kind of interesting to see, and there's a lot of those that it goes to when you start going through it. There's a lot of different obvious game types, but a lot of them were for a while there like horde modes because Gears of War made that popular. In the past couple of years, it's been a lot of different things because indies have come along. So I thought across the board, what have been some of the better things that the staff have enjoyed and that I've enjoyed when it comes to a good co-op game? And I kind of had to narrow this down to just 3. And so the 3 that kind of came from it, and one of these Nick and I kind of debated back and forth, but it's encouraging co-op behavior. And the 2 examples for not encouraging and what does encourage is Payday 2 doesn't necessarily encourage versus like Left 4 Dead, which really does encourage. And there's been people commenting on this, and it's been a great discussion too. But basically, Payday 2, if you go in that with just AI or one buddy, you're not gonna win. Like you're gonna have a very tough time, and it doesn't encourage co-op behavior from that standpoint because it's just a frustrating experience. Whereas Left 4 Dead, you can go in with AI, you'll have a tough time, or you can go in with at least one buddy, and you can still make it through. And it kind of encourages you to work as a group more because it specifically spawns things to happen if you go wandering off. So it kind of subtly guides you towards stick to the group, work as a team. Payday 2, you can go right off and start just shooting up all the civilians that you want. The cops come, and there's nothing really to, you can still complete the mission even once the cops show up. It doesn't act as a real deterrent. So games that kind of encourage co-op behavior, that's always kind of a benefit. The other big point was empowering player choice through diversified roles. And so that means just if you're going to offer character classes, have them truly be unique in what they do. Don't have just a skin change. We're going to talk about Destiny later, but I'm interested just to kind of see how Destiny in the end handles it all because it's more of the gun loadouts so far from what we've seen that influence team synergy as opposed to the specific classes. But there's a lot that we haven't seen with those abilities yet either.
Like the subclasses and everything. That wasn't in the beta.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. And then the last one was just have horde and swarm modes. If you're going to have those, have some sort of reward system in place. I mean, we talked about this last time. Last Stand, perfect example.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it whether you win or lose, and most of the time you're going to lose, you get something from it, and it rewards you for playing the game and for working cooperatively, because the better, obviously, that you progress in the levels, the more rewards you're going to get, the more experience you're going to get, and then you kind of build these great team, amongst it. Another good kind of example with that was Mass Effect 3,
Yes.
which I know we're all big fans of, and good to hear that, the next one coming out, they've also got similar plans. No,
Yep.
it was Dragon Age.
Dragon
It's
Age.
the Dragon Age game. Yeah. So, so that's another great way of doing it. So that was just 3 things. There's, tons more. There's stuff about, not doing co-opetition, or if you do co-opetition, kind of have it be optional. There's a couple of other ideas I think I saw from Mark, where he's just talking about, I kind of worked it a little bit there, but it was the idea of the overall co-op experience and how you make it feel like it's more than just I heal this teammate. It actually has like a impact in the way that you play the game. So.
Yeah, no, I thought it was cool. Lots of different people's perspectives, especially when it comes to even within the co-op bubble, there are sort of different genres, like you said, like Horde mode, super popular, and even the evolution of Horde mode, I really enjoy. I like Gears. Gears is great, and I think I might have said this when we were talking about Dawn of War, but I really like Gears of War Horde mode. Very fun, very just like great to sort of kick back and chill with buddies and blow some stuff up. But I really like getting something out of doing it over and over again, mostly for selfish reasons, because if I have played so much Horde mode, I don't want to go and play with my friend who's only played it once, because like I'm gonna be bored, he's gonna be super excited, and I don't want to like ruin it for him and have have my shitty attitude give him a bad time. But if you give me a loot drop or an experience bar that I can always work towards, that carrot on the end of the stick, it doesn't matter if I've played for 50 hours or 1 hour, I'm still working towards a goal, which I think is, and that's a purely selfish reason for playing these types of co-op games. I just think it's a good way to sort of bridge that gap of people who have been, veterans and rookies, basically. So.
And I would say, just to add one last thing before we move on, is that's actually what a good, well-designed MMO does.
Yes.
That all of the like dungeon or small group content is designed to get players with asymmetric ability loadouts to be able to work together towards a goal, and there's usually some kind of reward for everybody who tags along now, and something to work towards.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
That's why I played WoW for so goddamn long.
Yeah, I mean, it's why there's a lot of these things that we come back to, Diablo 3 and others.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just something interesting I thought to kind of think about and put up there. And hopefully, as, assuming that we still have video games in the future, they don't get taken away from us.
Games are over.
Yeah.
Shut her down. Shut it down.
So are gamers. Gamers are, that's passe.
But hopefully, as time goes on, and I think particularly with a lot of the indie games that we're seeing a lot of experimentation with co-op and more kind of fun stuff to do with it. So
I'm waiting for a good indie game that has co-op indie game that has the longevity of something like Diablo.
I would hop into a game of Risk of Rain at any point in time.
So Risk of Rain, yeah, but so Risk of Rain is popular in our little group of friends, but I can't just go and grab a random Risk of Rain game easily.
It's true, yeah.
So it's like Diablo, I could open up a public game and play with people. I'm waiting for like an
Something
indie
like
game
that,
with really interesting ideas to to really just like crack into the zeitgeist that you can always play it.
Yep. Yeah. No, we'll get there.
I'm looking at you, Witch Marsh, if you guys are listening to this Inglenook.
Yeah, the last thing, I don't want to talk about it too much. I did write an impressions piece for the Crown of the Old Iron King DLC for Dark Souls 2. Again, I just kind of, because you guys are going through it still, It follows the sort of same formula as the Sunken King DLC, with 3 bosses, 1 main boss, 2 optional bosses, high-end, high-level content, very difficult. I thought this was quite, like I mean, it's comparable to the Sunken Crown King DLC, but in terms of the main game, like after playing through the DLC and then going back to the main game is almost a joke. The enemies are huge in this. There's lots of NPC invaders, lots of weird nooks and crannies, and just really diabolical environments.
Like the NPC invader who runs away when he gets 50% health and leads you down a hallway that curses you? Yeah!
Yes.
That fucker!
There's I don't want to spoil anything. There's some great surprises once you make your way to the top of the tower too. The equipment from that is really, really cool. You get some specific move sets from some of the boss weapons, which I always enjoy. It's definitely worth your time and money. Again, the way I sort of either convince, I'm not going to convince people who are on the fence, because those people don't really exist. You've either kind of finished Dark Souls or are in the midst of finishing Dark Souls and plan on finishing Dark Souls. Those are the people who have bought this or already bought it and or are going to buy it. And then the people who don't play Dark Souls or don't like Dark Souls. Like, I mean, there's no weird middle ground. I mean, if you enjoy Dark Souls, of course you should get this. It is awesome.
Yeah.
The one complaint I have, and it's something that, I mean, I haven't gone through too much of the first Dark Souls, but the one complaint that I've seen come up frequently, just 2 as a whole, not just necessarily the DLC, but
linearity.
I see it more, and that is the way that it just, their solution to make it harder is to throw more enemies at you, as opposed to making the enemies more difficult in some way.
Yeah.
So it's just you'll go down you go down a ladder and there's 5 enemies that just pop up, and that's difficult because you have 5 enemies and no way to kind of like pick them off one by one. It's not difficult in the fact that the enemies themselves are difficult.
Yeah, their mechanics don't change or anything.
Yeah. So
it's not like they go from purple foot soldier to red foot soldier to blue foot soldier to silver foot soldier.
Yeah.
There's really not much in Dark Souls 2 like the Hydra approach in Dark Souls 1, where you see there's a boss in the distance, and there's a bunch of giants between you and the boss, but the boss is fighting you while you're fighting the other enemies. Like there's nothing like that in Dark Souls 2. And I forgot to put it down. I went back and started playing Demon Souls again, and I forgot how fucking hard that was compared to Dark Souls. Holy shit, that game is...
Demon Souls is crazy.
It's on another effing level, man.
Yeah.
It's still awesome, but holy crap.
Yeah, dude. Bloodborne, baby. It's gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
So that's a good point. I mean, there are, like I said, just some of the areas in the Broom Tower, which is where this is set in. It's this large, fiery mountain.
Coolest environment that they've done so far for the game.
Yeah, it's cool.
I would say almost in both Dark Souls games.
Mm-hmm. And again, this after going back and reading Jason, did you do the piece on the Sunken King DLC?
I think so. Yeah.
Jason and I split it.
That's right. You co-opted it. It feels the DLCs feel more like original Dark Souls in terms of like going back and finding shortcuts and stuff instead of just like the linear bonfires. You can still teleport throughout them once you find the bonfires, but I found there's a couple more branching paths that you can take to go explore. I mean, albeit they're not very long paths, but they kind of loop around and do some cool stuff. So that's enough Dark Souls. We've kind of met our quota. But Nick's starting to fall asleep. So let's go. Do you guys want to talk about Destiny, or do you want to talk about the cloud saves?
I want to talk about 3 quick news things, actually, that we...
Okay.
Just real quick.
Give me a
new Roller Coaster Tycoon announced with 4-player co-op, so that should be pretty cool.
Tycoon game should be fun.
Yeah.
Does it have Oculus Rift support?
I don't know. A game that does have Oculus Rift support, though, is Star Citizen, and they announced 4-player co-op ships in the game.
Not even a game yet.
And they're just going to port Artemis into this at some point.
So so that's sounded pretty cool, and some of the stuff they're doing with that sounds awesome. And then finally, we kind of missed it. We touched on it, but Dragon Age Inquisition announced co-op for that, and it's going to be kind of a separate
mentioned
mode.
it last week.
Did we?
Because
I
the
don't
date
remember.
on this is end of August, and we haven't
Now,
podcasted since.
Any details on that, Nick, in terms of if it's a separate mode or if it's
It is a separate mode, separate dungeons. There's like 12 character classes.
Oh, cool.
It looks pretty deep, and I think there's a card aspect to it as well.
Sold.
Right?
If I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, so that's looking pretty good, and that's out November 18th. So that's it. Just wanted to touch on those quick things. I think they're pretty
Cool. Nick, you did do a co-op fact for Destiny since I don't think review copies didn't go out, right? Is that the big kerfuffle?
Yeah,
big
both
kerfuffle,
they either got him like today or they shipped today.
I know people whine about that stuff about, and then of course Mike is like, "Ow, you made the sarcastic comment of they're not confident in the game, right?" Like that's everybody just screams that.
Everybody panic.
Yeah, it's, oh no, Destiny, like this thing they've been nurturing for 5 years, probably more.
Well, the thing is, they released both an alpha and a beta test and had tens of millions of people play it. Most people know whether they're going to buy Destiny or not at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of a known quantity, I think. And
so having a pre-release review is not necessarily as important.
Yeah, exactly. So, the thing I'll say before we get deep into this is like, I am so hyped for Destiny after my short time with it, even though, and I know it's not going to be like, it's not going to change the world. I think it's going to be a super fun, interesting game made by a really solid developer, backed by production values that are through the roof. But I understand and know that it's not going to be like the second coming of Christ. So, sorry, Halo fanboys.
So can I tell you something about Destiny that I saw on the internet today?
Yes, please.
Someone, I forget who, but someone said Destiny is basically a first-person shooter Phantasy Star Online.
That's great.
That sounds awesome.
And that's like I literally I had an eyeball start twitching, remembering my college years.
Eat a banana.
And going back, just oh man, Phantasy Star Online was good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I hope I see a little bit of it in the structure, the way the free roaming stuff works, but I'm hoping it's not just because you got the little robot thing that follows you around.
Yeah.
And they're not just being like, look, the ghost is a mag. But,
no, that's kind of the structure it's set up with, though, where you go to the hub world, you get your mission, you go with people to the missions, and it's definitely similar to that. It does have the free roaming stuff that you can dynamically meet up for, but there's the strike team stuff, which can be launched from the tower and some other stuff. So that's a lot. Like you said, I put together a quick FAQ on it today just to kind of get some stuff down. The big thing that we found out a while ago is there's no couch co-op support, which is a big deal to some folks, but and it's also not going to support LAN play because you have to be connected to
the internets.
Yeah, you need to be on the internet because it is an internet game. But so it is 3-player co-op. There are 3 character classes, and there's a bunch of subclasses in each character class that kind of specialize in. You got your hunter, your titan, and your warlock. So, what do you guys get? What are you going to start with, Jason? What character class are you starting with? Who's your main guy going to be, or gal?
The first, in both the alpha and the beta, the first character that I always picked up was the hunter, but I really like the warlock. But see, here's the thing. I usually pick the hunter because I was like, well, who am I going to play with? Well, Mike, and he's always going to be the warlock because he casting spells and shit. And the titan class seems like the kind of class that you would play, so I was like, well, I'm going to fill out that third role then and be the hunter.
So let's see. How predictable are we? I am
Mike?
going to roll Warlock.
Yeah, you are.
Because it was the one I liked out of the 3 I tried in the beta.
Yeah, and I was gonna roll Titan, so
Yeah,
Bam!
That's funny.
I'm
What you
gonna
gonna do,
play.
Mark?
I'm gonna play a warlock,
Because your name's in the name.
Space Wizard.
and I'm a wizard. I won't be a space wizard.
Are you going to name it Merzaloff?
Yes.
Excellent.
No, it's gonna be Mersatron 2000.
I'm going to be XX Penis Lord 420. the Guardian Warlock.
You know, I just realized what I'm going to name my robot hunter.
Smoke blunts 369.
Nope. I'm going to do a little callback here for you, Mike. ZX29B.
Yep, I knew exactly where you were going with that.
So yeah, my bundle arrives tomorrow. I was going through not like a crisis, but like back and forth, be like, do I really need this game? I don't really need this. I got enough to play. But then I'm like, I want to play PS4 and stream stuff to my Vita. It's like, oh, I really got excited for Destiny. Oh, it's just gonna be like Halo and Borderlands. So I had this weird back and forth, like, devil angel on my shoulder whispering in my ear. But I'm my Amazon confirmation came through today, and I was like, okay, it's gonna happen.
My inaction has decided for me.
Pretty much.
Presumably it makes it through the snow, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if the moose carriage gets through, hopefully it comes on time.
So you mentioned something I had read today, and I think someone's working on the article right now. But the the Vita streaming.
Yeah.
Apparently, they actually detect and tweak the controls for the Vita.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of games actually do that.
Yeah. So, because like Diablo, like it works okay,
Sort of.
but the back, it depends on what your abilities are. If the R2 button is a ability you like to use quite often, which usually it's a heavier, longer recharge ability, it can be kind of annoying to try and do that back tap thing. But
yeah, Child of Light reconfigures the controls completely for the Vita as well. And seeing a game that I guess there's a pretty good framework for detecting remote play in place that allows developers to actually set those up easily if they choose to. But yeah, it's Destiny from bed. Diablo from the comfort of my own bed is already amazing.
It's game over. I'm like immediate sloth status.
Actually, the game changer was when Nick's like, "Yeah, I just tried bringing my Vita to work and remote played." I said, "Bullshit! You had to do some kind of setup." He's like, "No, man, I just turned my Vita on," and I said, "I don't know if I believe you." I brought my Vita to work. I said, "Remote play," and it said, "Give me a minute."
yeah.
And then Diablo started. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like this game over.
And now I'm fun employed, so.
Yeah, major props to Sony on getting that to be a really good user experience, because that's some difficult stuff. You used to have to do firewalls on both ends and port forwarding here and that.
Anyone else remember Ad Hoc Party?
Oh, Ad Hoc.
yeah.
Vita or for the PSP?
Monster Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So good major props there.
So we've got. I have one question that I can't remember. I keep second guessing myself. PlayStation 4 exclusive content is raid stuff or just some extra missions?
So I put that in the FAQ actually.
Is that in the FAQ? Okay, perfect.
Yes. So there's several pieces. There is.
Only there was a place.
Yeah. There's a strike mission. There's one strike mission. One strike mission called Dust Palace, a multiplayer map called Dust Blue. There's 3 gear sets, one for each class, 2 weapons, and 3 player ships. And those are all exclusive to the PlayStation versions.
I'm mostly excited to play with my ship doll.
Oh, those ships are so cool. I really want to shoot them up with like that. But just give me the ships. Let me shoot stuff.
Do the ship. Let's play.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of space combat in the game?
Not yet.
Not yet, but
Because I know they did it in Halo Reach, and the ship that they have you flying around in the beta looks an awful lot like the ship they had you flying in Halo Reach.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder if I'm going to take this to outer space and shoot guys.
That would be fun.
It would be fun.
But even I just like dressing him up, just because
Yeah.
that's what you do. That's pretty much why I like Diablo, is to make my guy look cool. So
There are some cool ship skins.
yep. So yeah, not a lot of distinction between the classes other than their special ability, and like everyone can hold every weapon. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think the big difference is actually their abilities, but I think the stats affect them differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, there are specifically like abilities for, say, the Titan, where he gets more armor or health compared to like
And-
what the Hunter or the Warlock could. But at the same time, then like eventually the Hunter and Warlock unlock stuff that actually increases their armor and health too. So you could have like a tanky Hunter or whatever.
Yeah.
I just wonder, the big gap in my knowledge for the game is actually, if because you have like your grenade power, then you have your ultimate, but then there's no other slots on the controller to use abilities, but you can multi-class, or you can take like your warlock and make it instead of a void warlock, you could be like the sun warlock or whatever,
Your
and whether
spells-
that whether that actually adds extra effects. How much of how many of the abilities in the game are passive versus active, I guess,
Right.
and building a character, how unique will you actually be? Because there's not like, you don't put like a bunch of points into a build, right? You just
Unlock it.
keep unlocking things linearly, and the beta didn't let you progress far enough to see if there was any like choice in that. So I'm curious about that, because I like obsessing over character builds
I
in
do too.
Power
games
players
like that.
through diversified roles.
What? What? How does that work?
How do I game?
How do you game, please? What was the other thing? Oh, that Google Maps Street View that they put out, which was an interesting just nice little add-on extra. They actually had a bunch of narrated pieces where you would go down to Mars and see, you'd look over, and it was using obviously the Google Map Street View platform, and you'd walk up to this base and it'd narrate through you like, oh, these guys are aggressive species that live here in the sand plains, blah blah blah, and then you'd walk over and see something else, and it was this like virtual tour. It was awesome. I love that. I love when companies integrate technology like that and use existing platforms to do something, something cool, rather than just buy another friggin' Twitch ad. So man, if I have to listen to another Microsoft ad about the Xbox from Sylvester Stallone, I'm gonna seriously.
You would.
Well, I hope this Amazon partnership gives them some sort of more room for advertising, because like I don't mind a 30-second ad on when I'm watching Twitch, but like the same thing over and over and over sucks. Anyways, that was a tangent. Sorry.
That's
Destiny.
quite a quote to pick too for your ad. I mean, of all the quotes that you could have gone for, remake Rocky or whatever it was, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. Into a bunch of Xbox One games. Everyone here is getting it on PS4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And other than that, I think we've beat Destiny, so we've done it.
Done.
It's done.
Put it back on the shelf.
Yep.
Yeah. So Destiny, of course, that's going to dominate our next week. We're going to have streams up for it. We're going to have a review. I think Mike is on that.
Yeah, Mike's on that. So
I'm sure we will all contribute to it in some fashion.
Get your hate mail ready right now.
Yeah, if it's not a 5, Mike's
I'm just gonna block Justin from my Gmail. I think I'll be good.
That's probably a fair assumption, so it's okay. Let's move on, because Destiny is scary, and clashing with Destiny is this voicemail. I was blown away by the last 2 minutes of this voicemail. I don't actually have
like a number station.
I don't have the capabilities to play it for you on air, but in summary, Who was the guy from Philly? What was his name?
Yep,
Roy.
Was it Roy again? Okay,
Our
Roy
buddy
from
Roy.
giving us some knowledge bombs, asking. I'm distilling the question down into something tangible here, but is offloading stuff, game files, saves, that sort of thing, to the cloud good for your games?
And specifically, he's looking at the Xbox One, which does this supposedly for more games, although there's only one that does it right now.
Well, I mean, there's a couple, but there's only been one good example I've seen of where it.
Where the devs actually said specifically,
Yeah.
this is what we do.
Yeah, they basically Titanfall is the example, and they said that all the little AI guys that are running around in the game and stuff like that, their routines and things that they do, they process those on the cloud servers. They don't bother to do those locally to save cycles and everything else. And it was a big thing that was talked about before the Xbox One launch, whether the cloud processing could make the games better or look better, run fast. I mean, I don't even want to guess what the marketing speak was because I didn't pay attention to it. But I mean, the reality of it is like you won't see higher resolutions because of it because it's the pipeline there isn't fast enough. Yeah, the speed in which a image is rendered from your graphics card in your computer or console to the time it gets to the TV needs to be like milliseconds. It can't have to go out somewhere 2,000 miles away and then travel 2,000 miles back through X number of routers and do that without any lag from your controller. So it would have to be things that are done in the background.
But what it could do is offload. So like we live in the age where the graphics technology is powerful enough. We could have a lot of enemies on screen. Say just for example, previous generation you might have 10 guys, and now you might have 100, or just to illustrate the point. And calculating the AI for a lot of enemies like that eats up CPU cycles that could be spent on other things, other more important things. So like, say there's a giant boss monster that you are fighting, but he also has 100 little dudes with him. They could potentially make the swarm controlled by the cloud so that the system can have more complex AI on the boss. So it's not going to give you a better frame rate, but it might let the developers do something a little trickier than they would have normally.
Yeah, the problem is that the voicemail specifically talked about Xbox One versus PS4 in terms of frame rate and resolution and stuff like that. When you have a cross-platform game, you can't do cool little triggery things like that because the cloud or whatever isn't always going to be there for you to utilize for your algorithms and everything else. So it gets thrown out of the equation, and you don't get those CPU cycles back to make it better.
Yeah, I think there's something that kind of as Mike was talking about. It'll be interesting to see what some developers do with it down the line. Like I could definitely see how you could have like a quick kind of content patch for AI downloaded to the machine when it contacts the server, and so it makes it a little bit more dynamic, and as the game's running it kind of goes back and forth to make it feel more dynamic than it is every single time you play that level. But again, it's something that developers have to do with it. I mean, like they've got this tech, and I don't think anyone really necessarily has an idea of how to integrate it.
Yeah, Forza did it with the Drivatar stuff. It processed all that stuff offline. It didn't keep it there on your box, and so it would download your friends' things and upload yours there and do whatever it needed to do to make those, and that was that. And it was cool and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that you're not going to, and really it's supposed to be, you're not going to know it's doing it. It's just going to do it. So to answer your question, no, I don't think it's going to level the playing field at all. I think if the right first-party game came around, it could potentially do some really cool things, some outside-the-box kind of stuff. I wonder if maybe they'll open up to the id at Xbox guys, or ID at Xbox guys, for the indie stuff. and maybe those guys might come up with something unique there.
Yeah, it's one of those
And
things.
since the issue actually the voicemail specifically addressed resolution gate, I am of the opinion that graphics on consoles right now are reaching a point where the baseline is really good regardless of whether one's at 1080p or 720p. And if you've got your TV set up properly, unless you're an absolute lunatic, you shouldn't really notice too much of a difference. And people that say they can tell the difference between 1080p and 720p are largely looking at like text size, because the text might be like text on screen might be a little larger on the 720p, but the actual game graphics look pretty much identical.
And the thing is, it's not even that big of a difference. Right? You're in most cases, it's 1080p versus like 900p, or it's like, they do like the half frame rendering tricks with it. Just unless you're sitting like 3 feet from a 55-inch television, or you're gaming on a projector, like nonstop, like there's no way you're seeing the differences.
I care about frame rate first and image quality second. If 720p gets me 60 frames a second, then so be it. I'd rather my game not screw me over by hitching all the time than running at a higher resolution. And for those of you who really give that much of a shit about everything, get yourself a gaming PC and a 30-inch monitor. You can game at 4K on a PC right now. Like quibbling over 1080p versus 720p is like irrelevant to the point of absurdity to me.
Yeah, like Dead Rising 3, it looks better on the PC, or on the port of it. The resolution, I can run it at 2560 by 1440, which is 1440p.
And of course the argument is like, well, if I'm going to spend $400 for good graphics, then one of these is going to be better than the other. But if you're the kind of person whose life depends on frame rate and graphics quality, then you should probably not be a console gamer.
Word.
Polygon.
That's right.
.com. Let's leave it at that, gentlemen. You guys are way smarter than video games, so let's shut her down.
I don't know if I'm smarter than video games, but
no. Well, you are. Remember, if you want to have contributed to the show, just like Roy from Philadelphia,
Thank you, Roy.
leave us a voicemail, please, at 646-926-6748. And, send that our way, because we like talking about that stuff. And it injects some life into the show that might not come from this roundtable. Gets an outside perspective, or, asks a question we may miss. Other than that, of course, we love having feedback on iTunes. Follow us on the social media. Twitter is probably your best bet to get all the updates, at Co-Optimus without the dash. And we still we got those new shirts in on the new store, TeePublic. We got gray, cyan / bluish, and red new Co-Optimus shirts. They're super slick. Go grab one of those. A lot of great sales happening all the time over at TeePublic, so you can check that out. And Mike, do you have a cheat code for us?
Well, I don't have a cheat code. We actually talked about
show and tell.
We're doing show and tell, and I thought Jason pointed this out when he came over, but I thought I'd show off.
See. You start us off.
My tome. This is the Guide to Classic Graphic Adventures. If you're familiar with the site Hardcore Gaming 101,
yes,
with Kurt Collada and all of his friends, they write a lot about obscure classic video games and some modern stuff and some indies, but he's obviously a big lover of classic adventure games, and I grew up playing LucasArts and Sierra games and all those, and I know Jason did too. And they actually compiled a book of something like it's a write-up / review of 300 classic adventure games, dating from the early '80s all the way till coming up on I think The Walking Dead might even be in here.
Oh, cool.
But it's a tome, and it's they self-publish, so it's not going to have the best typesetting. But they're like, if you want to learn some shit about all old adventure games. You know, these were one of my first co-op experiences. We'd hot seat co-op adventure games all the time. So this is what I recommend. I think everyone should give it a good read, or at least check the site out, hardcoregaming101.net. It's my, aside from Co-Optimus, it's my favorite gaming site on the internet. So
Cool.
that's it.
Thanks,
Thank
Commander
you.
Shepard.
Thank you for your wonderful endorsement. All right, so that's the show. Again, my name is Locke Vincent, joined by the rest of the Co-Optonauts, Jason, Nick, and Mike, signing off for another lovely evening. We'll catch you on the flip side of the galaxy once we get over there in our ships in Destiny. Peace.